This is 1 in 44, a presentation of Anderson Center for Autism. 1 in 44 is a weekly show devoted to autism spectrum disorder.
Good morning and welcome to 1 in 44, the weekly talk show on topics related to autism spectrum disorder. I'm your host, Eliza Bozensky, Chief Development Officer at Anderson Center for Autism. And this morning, I'm speaking with two guests from the Kinney Center at St. Joseph University in Philadelphia, Dr. Joseph McCleery and Marianne Newell. Thank you for being on the show.
Thank you for having us.
So as probably you heard when we reached out to you, this show is all about highlighting all sorts of interesting and different and unique work and things going on within the autism community. And one of the things we know that you are involved in is both, I think I'd love to get an overview of the Kinney Center itself and some of the development of that program, but also this minor program that you're developing or has been developed that, it sounds to me anywhere, is helping to prepare the next generation of professionals to work with a neurodiverse population. So I'm looking forward to our conversation. I'd like to start maybe with you, Dr. McCleery, just telling us a little bit about yourself, your background, how you came to be at the university.
Sure. Thank you. So I'm Joe McCleery. I am an experimental psychologist, which means I'm a psychology researcher. I've been focused in my career over the past 20 plus years on the population of people on the spectrum. And I've done research and development related to clinical services and also characterization of autism and what autism is. And I shifted over from my last position at Children's Hospital of Philadelphia, where I'm also still affiliated, the Center for Autism Research, to the Kinney Center in part because of the mission. And so I look forward to talking with you about the mission and track record of the Kinney Center over the last 10 years. And so I arrived about 3 years ago.
Great. All right. Well, we're going to definitely come right back to that. That's a great starting off point after we hear from you, Marianne, a little background on yourself, and then we'll get into the mission and the track record of the Kinney Center.
Sure. My name is Marianne. I'm a professional counselor, and I've been working with students with autism for about 10 years in various capacities, special education, early intervention. And in my current role, I work for the Aspire College Support Program at St. Joseph's University. And that's providing college support for students on the autism spectrum. We help with things like executive functioning, so organization and time management, socialization. And currently what I'm doing is to help provide employment experiences. So really providing the neurodiverse talent that the students enrolled in this minor will work with, giving them on-the-job training and just career readiness skills that are going to help them after graduation.
Awesome. I love that. Okay, great. So, and the two of you work together.
Yes. I am academic director of the Kinney Center. So I have a partner, Angus Murray, who's the operations and overall director. Mm-hmm. I'm responsible for providing support in terms of conducting research, but also I work directly with the Aspire team, more in an advisory role and a support role.
Okay, great. So thank you for clarifying that. So Dr. McCleery, why don't you start us off with just, as you said before, so perfectly going over the mission of the Kinney Center and how long it's been around and just setting us on the right path in terms of understanding what that is. And then we can talk about the different offshoots of it and the impact.
Yeah, great. Okay. So the Kinney Center was established now probably 11 years ago, certainly over 10 years ago, with funding from the Hondroses, who are graduates of St. Joseph's University. And their goal for the center was to train the next generation. So you mentioned training the next generation, and that is one of the primary goals of the center. But in order to train the next generation of autism service providers, researchers, et cetera, you need to have programs for that. So the other side of the mission in the Kinney Center is to provide direct support for people on the spectrum and their families. So we have a wide variety of programs, including a summer camp, sports and recreation programs, social skills programs, and adaptive functioning and daily living supports for adolescents transitioning to adulthood, and the Aspire program. The Aspire program was one of the first programs that was launched in the center, and it's been active for this essentially 10 years of time.
Okay, so my first, I guess it's a comment that hopefully will lead to some more discussion, because I've interviewed quite a number of people on the show over the years, but at least several of my guests have had something to do with a university somewhere, a college program, but often it's been one or the other. It's either been kind of attempts being made to provide supports to the students on the campus who were on the spectrum. Kind of like what you were saying before, Marianne, social skills, executive functioning, organizational, time management, things that I think maybe anecdotal and probably also clinical research has shown are the main things that get in the way of a successful outcome, a graduation, a career path for somebody in school. And or on the other side, not that, but programs designed to train the next generation of service providers, like you just said, Dr. McCleery. I have not heard much when it comes to a single location that's doing both. And it sounds like that's part of what the Kinney Center is doing, is that you're providing opportunities for some students to gain deeper skills and expertise working in the field, as well as recognizing that in order to have a neurodiverse campus community, so to speak, or a student body, you have to also provide those other services through Aspire and the camps and involving the family. Am I getting that all right?
Yeah, absolutely. And one part that I did not mention that I should have probably is that we also have an autism behavioral studies major. So a lot of the students who are working in the Kinney Center as what we call Kinney scholars are neurotypical and neurodiverse people who are in an autism behavioral studies major program or an autism behavioral studies minor program. We have two tracks within that program. One is to become, to sort of move forward toward becoming a behavior analyst at the master's level. But this is actually an undergraduate program prepping people for that, or to become involved in research and advocacy. So we have two subtracks within that autism behavioral studies major. And there is no other autism behavioral studies major or autism major in the country. There are a lot of academic programs like special education graduate programs, certificate programs, some minor programs, autism studies minor programs, but we are the only campus that I'm aware of that has an autism major program at the undergraduate level. So, so these students, not all of them are in those major programs or minor programs, but most of them are, or once they come into the Kinney Center and become an intern and work in the center as an intern on our clinical programs, get excited about it, and then take up a minor, for example, in autism behavioral studies.
That's great. I think it's been something that has been discussed as a need in the field for a very, very long time. And certainly amongst my colleagues here at Anderson, we have a number of board certified behavior analysts and people in various modes or phases of that whole process. But it is interesting to hear that you are the only school in the country, you said, who has that as an actual major. Okay, so I'm going to switch it to you, Marianne, just for a second. I do have some specific questions for you, but this one just occurred to me. When you hear that, given what your role is, and you're a professional counselor, you've been working with people with autism for 10 years plus, when you hear what just came out of Dr. McCleery's mouth about the fact that there's only one school in the country that offers this as a major course of study, what's your just initial reaction to that? How does that make you feel?
Well, it makes me think that it's to St. Joe's credit. I think we've developed a really autism-aware campus, not only because there are Aspire students here, but because students are able to learn about what autism looks like at the college level and not, perhaps younger people on the spectrum, older non-college bound adults. They have the opportunity to interact with those individuals every day. And one really nice overlap is that we have some Aspire students who obviously themselves are on the spectrum, also might work at various programs in the Kinney Center. We have some who are taking the whole major, if not just the intro class, and have said to me, it's been really helpful to learn about myself. So I think it benefits everyone having that education available.
That's great feedback. I love the piece about it helps me to learn about myself. That's great. And it's also, I always appreciate the moments on the show when I'm talking to people and I have that feeling that like, we're not just talking about people who have autism or people who are studying to get into the field. We're talking about humans in general. So many people go to college and after 4 years, 6 years, 8 years, however long you're going there, 2 years, one of the biggest takeaways is that you learn a lot about yourself. So I never really put two and two together that for somebody on the autism spectrum who might be taking coursework or in the major, like you said, completely, would be taking away something not only about themselves just through the experience of being in college, but they're actually learning about something that they're living with every day. So that's just kind of a cool thing when it comes together like that. Yeah. Okay. So Marianne, why don't you just give us a little teaser before we go into our break, and tell us just why become a professional counselor and why work with people with autism? What brought you here?
Sure. Well, I think that it was a really interesting point in my career when I found college programs working with students with autism, the Aspire program, obviously in particular, because there is such an application of general counseling skills, the things that you learn, different techniques and strategies. Dr. McCleery has been really helpful in guiding us to use CBT and other more evidence-based practices to support our students, perhaps with some adaptations. And then also overlaying some other things that I might have used at former jobs. So some sensory supportive measures that I was using in the classrooms adapted to fit the college environment, and just being able to integrate those two. So my experience working with younger children and now working with older students on the spectrum has been helpful to help me, and especially being on an autism aware campus, to be more aware of just normalizing some of the things that you might see. We might have a student who wears noise canceling headphones, or students who might be displaying some more overt behaviors like flapping or stimming. And so it's helped me to be able to adapt some of the supports to be more age appropriate, but it also really helps to be in a place that's aware, that's supportive, where students are able to learn about autism and see it firsthand. Again, it just normalizes some of that and makes it easier for the students who are here on campus.
That's beautiful. I love it. Sounds like a great place to spend some time. We're going to take a short break. When we come back, I'm going to ask you to talk about kind of a day in the life and get more deep into some of the programs that you offer through Aspire and the summer camps and the things for families, and see what the next steps are for enrollment in the program. So this is 1 in 44, the weekly talk show on topics related to autism spectrum disorder. I'm your host, Eliza Bozensky, and we'll be right back.
Hi, I'm news correspondent Bob Woodruff. In 2006, a roadside bomb struck the armored vehicle I was riding in while reporting from Iraq. I sustained a life-threatening traumatic brain injury. The military term "got your six" means I have your back, and that day, our service members had mine. During my recovery, I learned firsthand the challenges facing our service members who return home with injuries. While serving, their fellow service members always had their six. Now that they're home, it is our turn. We started the Bob Woodruff Foundation to make sure that the camaraderie and support they relied on in the military carries on, and we need you. Please join us as part of the Got Your Six initiative and help us be there for impacted veteran service members and their families. They've had our backs. It's time we have theirs. Learn more at gotyoursix.org. That's gotyoursix.org. Using the number 6.
And now 1 in 44 continues on 100.7 WHUD. This is a weekly community affairs program presented by the Anderson Center for Autism.
Welcome back to 1 in 44, the weekly talk show on topics related to autism spectrum disorder. I'm your host, Eliza Bozensky, and I'm talking with Marianne Newell and Dr. Joseph McCleery, both from St. Joseph's. You called it St. Joe's before, but I guess I'll use the formal St. Joseph's University in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and the Kinney Center. It's really been a great conversation. I love hearing about innovative programs that are collaborative, working together. And I loved what you said before, Dr. McCleery, about how you offer this unique major area of study what is it called specifically?
We have an autism behavioral studies major, and we have an autism behavioral studies minor. Okay. And then I do want to note that separate from that is the managing neurodiversity at work minor, which is new.
That I want to talk about. I also would like to ask you, what's the enrollment like?
So in terms of the number of students who are in the center, it varies quite a lot. It's changed a lot with COVID, up and down, actually. But we historically have had about 120 students on campus in our center. It's dropped down to around 60 or so at times, and we're building back up right now. And I think it's probably closer to the 80 number, and it varies a little bit across the year because of our programming needs as well. In terms terms of the academic programs, they also have gone up and down a bit. Last count, I think we were in the kind of 20 to 40 range in terms of majors, but then minors, we have another set as well. So again, probably 20 to 40. So there's someone else who's technically in charge of those enrollments in our special education department. And then the neurodiversity, managing neurodiversity at work minor, we have our first 4 students. We just announced it, and we had 4 students enroll within a couple of days. And so we're excited about that.
That sounds awesome. And I read a little bit about that minor, because not only is it new, obviously, but it sounds very new. All the language around it just is like, it makes sense to me, but I don't know that all of our listeners will be able to, understand that completely without you explaining it. So can you tell us a little bit about what that minor is and why it was developed?
Yeah, sure. I would love to. So I would say that it is a very innovative program. When I talk to colleagues about this, they're just surprised. They're shocked because people talk about this as a long-term goal. In 5 to 10 years, maybe we'll have, neurodiversity at work academic programs. We are not, we're very involved in employing our students, and Marianne is in charge of that in our center. We're not the leader in that area. There are a lot of people doing really great work there. They've been doing that work for several years. In other words, trying to help people on the spectrum find jobs, et cetera, et cetera. But where we are way ahead of the game is these academic programs, right? So our students graduate well-positioned to be leaders in those fields, right? And so this is one where we are getting ahead of the game by giving our students, whether they be psychology students, management students in our business school, the Howard Business School, whether they're just in computer science or some other department and think that they're going to end up with colleagues on the spectrum or on other spectrums next to them. We want them to have the opportunity to take a step ahead and have potential to be management pretty early in their career, because they understand how to work with these populations and how to support them and make sure that that the companies are getting the best benefit out of them and that the workers are getting the best benefit and best experience out of the companies. So that's really where this comes from. And where I'll try to be brief, but where did this come from? Abby Jaro is our operations director. She's not in our clinical team, although she certainly has clinical input regularly. And she has her master's from business in our How Business School, but she's been in the Kinney Center for many years. And she proposed this about 5 years ago, which is just astounding. Mm-hmm. And we proposed it as a center about 2 years ago. So we were really ahead of the game, in part because of Abby. It's an interdisciplinary minor. It's Eric Patton, who's in our management school, Angus Murray, who is our center director, myself, and then there are others involved as well, including department chairs in psychology and special education. And so we really came together and put our heads together and came up with a curriculum. It's 4 required courses and then 2 choices of courses out of a set. And so there's 2 management courses, an autism course, and then an internship, the capstone. What you do at the end of this minor is that you actually are in an internship alongside as a peer for someone on the spectrum. Okay. Mm-hmm. So that's the structure of the program. And then you take electives in psychology, special education, or autism behavioral studies, depending on your preferences and educational preferences.
I love it. I think it's great. I think it is. What keeps coming into my head as you're talking is that there's been kind of a car driving along this one road and just trying to get to the goal. And what you're doing is you're I don't know if you're shortening the road, but you're certainly bringing another car the other direction to meet them halfway. This is a piece that whenever I talk to people who are either individuals who are on the spectrum who are talking to me about the challenges that they face when not just finding a job, but keeping a job, enjoying a job, turning a job into a career, staying someplace, and also developing relationships on the terms of that individual with their coworkers. So many of these things are obstacles. And then I've also interviewed quite a number of people who are running businesses specifically in an effort to hire and keep employed individuals with autism, many of whom are parents of children with autism or family members of a loved one with autism. And they're coming at from that perspective. And here's like kind of a missing link, which is recognizing that this is a work environment, a work atmosphere, and work colleagues who you can do a little extra, I don't want to call it extra work. You can do the right work to understand how best to be successful in that office environment, in that work environment, however wherever it might be. So I think it's offering a really great missing link. I would not be surprised if you grow from your 4 students. I think that probably the more people who hear about this program, you might get requests to, do some remote learning, and how far away can you be and still take advantage of this program, and why would you not go back to school honestly just to get this minor? It's a great idea.
Yeah, thank you. We are considering an online certificate version of this. We haven't made decisions on that yet, but we definitely see there's a need for this. And so we're excited about that. Right now, we're only offering it to our undergraduate population at St. Joe's. It's what you said. We're trying to prepare them to really be advanced as soon as they get into the job. They already have an understanding of management and an understanding of the population, and actually practice too. So if Mary Ann could talk a little bit about
I would love to, yes. I would love to throw it to Mary Ann for that aspect of this whole thing. Please, anything you'd like to share?
Sure. Well, as Dr. McCleery touched on, we found that it's not enough just to prepare the Aspire students, the students with autism, for the workforce. We had to prepare the workforce for them, right? So the minor is taking some of that and just showing the companies how easy it can be, right? Sometimes this seems really intimidating, but we often find that it's quick fixes, communication, visual scheduling, things like that are easy. So we really just try to partner with the companies, right, through the minor by providing this peer support. Someone who's going to not be a traditional job coach, but work alongside the neurodiverse student during this internship, and provide them that missing link to help them understand office culture, which can be mystifying sometimes if you struggle to interpret social cues. Different things like that on the job, and to help the companies recognize the benefits, how productive a diverse team can be, that customers want to support inclusive brands, and really, make a difference too.
Absolutely. And how does it work setting up the internships and having the relationship with the businesses? Are you finding that you have a go-to group of companies or business owners who are saying yes to you, or is this how do you build those relationships so this is a sustainable model as it grows?
So that's something that I've been tasked with pretty recently, to set up and formalize a lot of these partnerships. We do have some existing partners who have taken our students before. So we're just looking to set that up and find the right fit for students based on their interest. Whether that's an exact fit with the role and the type of work, or whether they can be flexible and adapt the role to get some benefit from the student skills.
Great. Well, unfortunately, we are coming down to our last 2 minutes or so. Let's do this. Where can people find more information about St. Joe's and the work that you're doing and the various programs that are available?
The Kinney Center has a website, and on that website, we do have information on this neurodiversity at work minor. We also have links to information on the autism behavioral studies major and minor. You can contact the Aspire team if you'd like to learn more about our consultation to companies. We do trainings for companies, and how they can change the culture on their campus, their work campus, and improve neurodiversity and gain the benefits from neurodiversity.
Excellent. So visit the Kinney Center on the web and learn more about that. And I guess real quick, what are either of you can take this question, but what are your hopes for the future? What are your long-term goals here?
I'll just say briefly that the Kinney Center has traditionally sent students out to education fields, health fields, et cetera. We are continuing that, but also want to expand that. And so we have this medical linkage program for autism specialist medical doctors with the Jefferson Medical School. Now we have this Managing Neurodiversity at Work program. We want to send our undergraduate autism educated and autism experienced students out into all the different fields to really change the world.
Great. That's a big goal. I think that's awesome, though. That's what everybody should be shooting for that. That's great. Mary Ann, do you have anything in particular that you would love to see come out of your work and what's going on now?
Yeah, Joe touched on the 2 parts of our mission. The first one is preparing the autism professionals tomorrow. And then the second part is supporting individuals who are affected by autism today. And the reason why preparing professionals of tomorrow is first is because that's the cornerstone. That's what's really going to make the difference, right? To educate other people, in this case, companies, perhaps, about how to support people on the spectrum, and to help make those inroads so that the support that we provide the students is useful once they're out in the world off campus.
That's great. That sounds great. I really wish you all the best with the work that you're doing, and we will keep following to see how this goes. But I'm just thrilled to know that you're out there doing what you're doing, and I hope it does expand and grow and have the impact that you're looking for. So congratulations on the new minor, and thank you again for being our guest today.
Thanks so much.
This is 1 in 44, the weekly talk show on topics related to autism spectrum disorder. I'm your host, Eliza Bozensky, and remember, Anderson cares.
You've been listening to 1 in 44, a weekly presentation of the Anderson Center for Autism. Join us for another edition of the show at this time next weekend.